And I think that given the circumstances, the best way I can help now is if I step aside and let government get back to governing. And therefore, that's what I'll do, because I work for you. And doing the right thing is doing the right thing for you.
A bombshell announcement from New York Governor Andrew Cuomo announcing his resignation live on TV amid mounting pressure from the growing sexual harassment allegations against him. Welcome to American Agenda. I'm Heather Childers. It was a shocking announcement from the governor. He followed one of his attorneys who disputed the allegations against him. And then Cuomo himself addressed the public, announcing his surprise resignation while spending the better part of his address defending his actions, saying that he meant no harm to anyone. He also touted his accomplishments and his love for New York, perhaps, maybe, trying to write his own political obituary in ways that historians might not. Well, we have a lot of folks on tap for you coming up to talk a little bit more about what many people are saying was a very surprise announcement from Governor Cuomo. Basically, he gave 2 weeks that he said during that time. I guess he'll still be in place, but from 2 weeks from now, he will resign. The lieutenant governor will take over. Emerald Robinson, I believe, is going to have more on exactly the ins and outs of what will transpire. But right now, let's bring in former New York governor, as I mentioned earlier, Governor George Pataki. Thank you so much for joining us. I believe that he is there. There you are. Thank you so much. You know, from what I understand, you are the last governor of New York to not resign in disgrace. What do you think this says about the state of New York politics and those who are governing this state?
Well, I think it says a lot more about Governor Cuomo than it does about the state of New York in general. We had two disasters. We had Eliot Spitzer was forced to resign, and now we have Governor Cuomo. But I think it's more of a reflection on them than the state of New York. This is a great state. We've had horrible leadership, not just over the last months when everybody's heard about the Cuomo scandals, but throughout his time as governor. The quality of life in the city's declined. Taxes have gone up. Crime has gone up. Optimism has gone down. And this is a sad day for New York, but it's a necessary day. And now we have to move forward, and I'm sure New York can.
Were you surprised that he resigned? A lot of folks have really expected him to fight it till the end.
Well, he intended to fight it to the end, but I think it became clear that this was the end. He was not just facing the allegations that were confirmed in the Attorney General's report. He was now facing criminal investigations and at least one criminal charge. So to hold on longer, I think, would have been really impossible. So I don't think this was a great act of benevolence on behalf of the people of New York. I think it was just something that was inevitable because the weight of evidence of all the different scandals, and we haven't even talked about the nursing home or the abuse of resources to help his family members during the height of the COVID crisis. The weight of all those scandals just required that he resign. The end was here.
And he still has not taken responsibility. He blamed a lot of the scandal. He blamed cultural differences, also blamed the media and platforms like Twitter. Listen to this.
This is about politics. And our political system today is too often driven by the extremes. Rashness has replaced reasonableness. Loudness has replaced soundness. Twitter has become the public square for policy debate.
He's saying if it wasn't for the political firestorm brought on by social media and the media coverage of all this, he could still govern the state of New York.
Well, basically, he might have gotten away with it. But I think that the fact that there was such an outcry for such a long period of time, then the Attorney General's report just required this day. It was inevitable. And it's just sad that ultimately, not only is he resigning, but he's not willing to take accountability for his actions. I mean, if you read the Attorney General's report, there was a toxic environment in the governor's office that goes back for years. And I can tell you, I heard firsthand from people who were there, that they were just intimidated and terrified to stand up to the governor. You can't run a state that way. It wasn't being well run, and now we have a chance to start over, and hopefully this time New York will get things right.
Yeah, and what will happen in terms of the nursing home deaths?
The nursing home deaths is a scandal that should not go away. That was something from day one I knew was a mistake, and actually took to Twitter to urge Governor Cuomo to change that horrible policy that resulted in at least 15,000 deaths in our nursing homes. And they deliberately, his chief of staff acknowledged, they deliberately covered up the numbers because they were afraid of a federal investigation. That should not go away. He should be held accountable for that. And some of the other issues as well, like the misuse of state resources to help his family to get access to testing and other COVID benefits that others couldn't get at that time.
Yeah, let's certainly hope that all of that does not go away with his resignation. Governor Pataki, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Heather. Nice being on with you.
Great to see you again.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.